Let's create another example. Create 24 JSTL. Let's open this example. Now in this example we will create few JSP pages, index.jsp, and let's create some heading here, index page. We just want to show off that which page we are navigating now. Now let's create a link here, page 1.jsp. Now we want to create few more pages. File, save as. We are just creating copies of this page 1.jsp. So when you click over the link in the index page, it will navigate you to the 1.jsp page. This is the 1.jsp page, 1.jsp, one page. Now page 2.jsp. So when you visit the 1.jsp page, you will get a link to navigate to another page. Page name is 2.jsp. Let's read that 2.jsp, save as 2.jsp. So we have created another copy of that 1.jsp page, and now page 3. So the link is 3.jsp. So let's create the 3.jsp page. File, save as 3.jsp. But in 3.jsp we will not create the navigation link. So we are ready with the example. Let's open all the pages one by one. Index.jsp. This is the welcome page. We will send the index page, which is the welcome page of our application 24 JSTL. In this page, first of all, you will see the heading index page, and then there is a link. You will click over the link and you will navigate to some other page, 1.jsp. A fresh new request will be sent to the server, and server will find that it has 1.jsp, so it will send the page as a response to the client. The client will see that a new page is loaded, and the first statement is one page heading, and there is one link so that we can navigate to some other page. Just click over the link. Another request will be sent to the server. The server will search if it has 2.jsp. If yes, then the page will be built and the response will be sent to the client. The client will see the heading 2 pages. The client will realize that a new response, the 2-page response is received. Now there is one more link on the page 2. Just click over the link and you will realize that a new page response will receive 3.jsp. In this example, I just want to print a session object. Let's print this session object. I'm using expression, and the JSP implicit object session is printed here. Just give some label session and a line break, right, or one more. Now we are ready. Just copy this same label and the value in all the JSP pages, so that in each page we can print the session. What is expected when we navigate through all the pages? We will realize that the session is maintained, and each time you will receive the same session ID, right? Because cookies are enabled by default in your browser. So let's try this example. This is example 24 JSTL. 24 JSTL index page. You can see the session object, right? So session dot get ID. You can call the get ID method. So we just don't want to simply print the session object. We just want to print the session's ID. We can more clearly talk about this example if we print the get ID. So let's try it again. I just refreshed this example. Now you can see that this is the session ID. And the session ID, we can just read the last few characters, 5D52, right? Now click over the link to 1.jsp page. Click, and you can see that in page one page, you can see the same session is shown here. Okay, now click over the link again, and one more time you are able to see the same session is tagged. Let's click once more, and this time we received 3 page and the same session. So we are able to associate our request with our session. Session is created once when we requested index page, which was the first page. Later on, each time you requested other JSP pages, simply fetch the session object which was created earlier in index.jsp, and this way we are able to track the session ID. Let's repeat this example, but before repeating this example, I just want to access the settings and disable the cookies. Right now I'm using the Chrome browser, and you can see that in top right corner there are 3 dots. Just click over the 3 dots. In settings, just scroll down. There is some advanced sections. Click over the advanced section. Privacy and security. Right, in privacy and security, just click over the site settings. I just clicked over the site settings. In this permission section, there is a label cookies. Just click over the cookies and allow sites to save and read cookie data recommended. I just want to disable this feature. So right now you disabled or blocked the cookies. Now we want to perform one more step. In the settings there is an option to delete all the resources, but there is a shortcut key, Control-Shift-Delete. Just press the button and you can see the clear browsing data. New dialog box window open, and I just selected all time, and now you can press the clear data button. So all the cookies and site data will be deleted now, because right now we have no cookies saved from the earlier requests. So we can repeat the process again. I just accessed index.jsp, and I just want to zoom a little bit, and you can see the session ID. The last 4 characters we are reading. You can check the entire session ID. Now I just want to click over the link and navigate to the next page. Just click over the link, and you can see that this time we received different ID, because right now the cookies at client side is disabled, blocked. That is why that the session tracking is not possible. In session chapter, I talked about this entire concept clearly, and as you will click over the link again, you will see that each time you are getting some new session object and new session ID is generated. So to overcome this problem, when the cookies are disabled at client side, what you can do is you can encode the URL. I just want to show you the servlet API. Let's open the servlet API. Let's open the HTTP servlet response. HTTP servlet response. Just click over the link, and we are able to see the HTTP servlet response documentation. This is an interface, and let's check the method name. There is a method encodeURL. encodeURL. Is there any method naming encodeURL? Yes. 2 methods, encodeURL, encodeURL. One of the method is deprecated. So let's talk about an existing method version, encodeURL. In previous lectures in the classroom, I talked about this encodeURL, and we learned that how we can encode our URL. See, our navigation URLs are 1.jsp and 2.jsp, one more 3.jsp. We want to encode this URL. Okay, so before creating a response at server side, we just want to encode the URL. Encoding means after the URL, just type the semicolon and write J session ID and write this entire session. Okay, this work is performed by encodeURL method, right? So this way your link is properly configured, and a session ID is associated with your URL. This all process is performed by a particular method, which is encodeURL. EncodeURL says that you just provide me the actual URL. I will return you a string value, which is an encoded URL. And how that encoded URL will look like? So your original URL is 3.jsp. After encoding URL, the encoded URL will look like this. So your URL, then semicolon, then session ID, and is equals to the actual session. This way we encode all the URLs. Let's perform the encoding. First of all, open the index.jsp. We want to create encoded URL. So let's write the scriptlet. Let's create a string enc URL. We created a variable. You can write some different name as well. enc URL. Now the method name is encodeURL, and we already know that there is a JSP implicit object response. As you know that the JSP is also a servlet, and it receives two objects, request and response. So one of the JSP implicit object response says that we have the response object, which is responsible for helping us to create the response. So response dot encode URL in caps, because this is scriptlet, just terminated by semicolon, and pass the actual URL, and the actual URL right now is 1.jsp. So 1.jsp. So you passed 1.jsp string value, your URL, to the encode URL method. The encode URL method will generate the encoded URL, and we will hold that encoded URL in string variable enc URL. As you know that the encode URL method will return a string value. Now the time to use this encoded URL. So instead of writing the 1.jsp, we just want to write this variable here. But this is a Java variable. You cannot simply write like this. So what you will do, just write the expression enc URL, the variable name as we declared here in a scriptlet. So we are just using that simple variable. Now we just applied encoded URL to the href attribute, and we are going to repeat this process again. Once again, let's go to 1.jsp and create scriptlet. In scriptlet, we just want to create enc URL variable, a string variable, because we are going to receive a string value, and we know that there is a JSP implicit object response dot encode URL. That's why now the original URL is 2.jsp, right? 2.jsp. Now we will supply this encoded URL to href, and finally in 2.jsp we are going to repeat this same process. So once more, write the scriptlet, string variable enc URL, response dot encode URL, and this time the URL name is 3.jsp, right? 3.jsp. So 3.jsp, and once you receive the encoded URL in string variable, let's print this encoded URL in href attribute, and we are now ready to experiment with this browser again. You remember that in previous run we disabled the cookies. Right now this browser is also showing here. Let's follow my mouse. See, this icon is showing that this page was prevented from setting cookies. So before trying this example once again, I'm not disturbing the status right now. Right now the cookies is disabled at a client side, and I'm just deleting all cache memory, all the records, browsing history, clear data, and close this tab. And once more we'll try this example. Index.jsp, enter. Let's zoom, and you can see that right now you received the index page and the station is created. Before generating the index page inside the JSP page, there are steps which created a session object and assigned a session ID, and while sending the response to the client, the session ID is sent to the client in the form of a cookie. Now we also access the session ID at the time of creating the JSP page. So inside the JSP page, it is published at the time of page building, but we receive the cookie at the browser end, at the client end, because cookies are disabled. So the client means the browser rejected the cookies. The cookies are not saved at client side in the browser, but still we can navigate. Why? Because inside index.jsp, when you were creating this page, you encoded the page 1 link. I just want to move my mouse cursor over the link, and you can see in the bottom the encoded URL, right? I just want to show you the source code. In blank space, just right click and see the page source, and this is the page source, and you can see that this is the link ahref 1.jsp semicolon JStation ID, and the station ID is 831F. The last, I'm just reading the last 4 characters, 831F, right? And just close this page source 831F. You can see that. I just want to mouse over the link, just mouse over, and you can see that in the bottom. Let's try to see this once again. I just resize the browser, and now I want to zoom this browser, right? So let's zoom this browser. Yes, now we can able to see the zoomed page. Just want to show you the URL, the encoded URL. Just mouse over it. You can see that localhost 808024 JSTL 1 JSP semicolon JStation ID. Now you can see that the URL is encoded. So when the cookies are not saved at client end, then how will you be able to return them back to the server and maintain the session? Because at the server end, the get session method is responsible for tracking, maintaining the session. But if the get session method didn't receive the cookie back, then in that case the get session method at server end checks for the URL. If the URL is encoded, then the encoded URL will supply you the session ID, and this way the server is able to navigate to server is able to track the session and maintain the session. Let's click over this link. And don't forget that the session ID is 831F. This complete session ID, I'm not reading. I'm just reading the last 4 characters of this ID 171831F. Just click over the link. You can see that we are able to retrieve the same session. We are able to maintain the session. Just click over the next link, and once again we are able to maintain the session. I just want to show you the settings. Once again, go to settings and scroll down. Click over the advanced. Now the privacy and security section, this is the last but one link. Site settings. Inside site settings there is a cookie. Just open this cookie section, blocked. You can see that right now the browser says that we don't want cookies. We don't want to entertain cookies. Just close this tab, and still we are able to access the session. We are still able to maintain the session. This is surprising, but behind that there is a method naming encodeURL. So in this example, I just want to talk about a new tag, a JSTL tag, and the tag's name is URL. And using the URL tag, how we will be able to replace this statement. So to avoid this Java code, we can use the JSTL tag URL. The JSTL tag URL will help us to perform the same operation, which is right now achieved by line number 14. But in line number 14 we are writing the plain Java code, and we want to avoid the Java. We just want a tag inside a tag based page, right? So see you in next video.